Hey everyone, it's Phoebe, and welcome back to TradingKey. Anyone who has been following the markets recently must have noticed something strange. Nvidia has started to move sideways. In its place, we've seen the rise of the shortage trades. First, it was the memory crisis, then the power crunch. Micron technology is already up nearly 50% this year. But as new bottlenecks emerge, we've discovered a pressing problem that most investors are ignoring completely. Just ahead of the Nvidia GTC conference, Jensen Huang made a massive move of dropping $4 billion on two optical technology companies. One of those is the star of today's video, Lumentum, with the ticker LITE. Why is Nvidia, at a time of compute power and LLMs buzz, rushing to lock down capacity with an optical interconnect company? That's because the second half of the AI race won't be won by the chips themselves, but by how they are connected. If the data can't move, even the most powerful GPU is just an expensive hot brick. Imagine buying the world's fastest Ferrari, but you're forced to drive it through a narrow country lane that's barely 3 feet wide. No matter how much horsepower you have, you'll be crawling like a snail until the engine eventually overheats and breaks down. That narrow lane is the traditional copper wiring we've used for a century. Nvidia is betting billions that LITE is the only way to replace that copper. Today, we're diving deep to see how Lumentum became Jensen Huang's aide. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder that this is for research and sharing purposes and does not constitute investment advice. Understanding the logic is always more important than the trade itself. The GTC and OFC coincide. Earlier this month, Nvidia announced it was pouring $4 billion into two optical communication giants, with half of that specifically targeting Lumentum. Jensen Huang isn't just handing over cash. He's signing multi-year procurement deals and securing priority capacity. In the world of business, this is called a lockdown. It could be because Jensen is terrified of a future where he can't get enough advanced lasers and optical networking products, so he's paying up now to ensure Lumentum keeps the best stuff for him. Well, why now? Because this week, there'll be a massive collision in Silicon Valley. We are seeing two events that will define the next decade of technology happening at the exact same time. On one side, we have Nvidia's GTC 2026, and on the other, we have the OFC conference, which is basically the CES of the optical communications world. This is the first time in history that the Compute and Connectivity Conference have coincided. It's a loud signal that AI has evolved from a battle of GPUs to a battle of interconnects. The bottleneck has shifted from how fast can we think to how fast can we talk. Coincidentally, Lumentum is the chosen one standing in the eye of the storm. Why copper is failing? You might be wondering, why do we need to switch to LITE at all? To put it simply, optical interconnects use light signals to transmit data instead of traditional electrical signals. By 2026, the data explosion from AI has reached a point where copper wires are hitting a physical wall. There are three main reasons why copper is giving AI a heart attack. First, copper gets lazy at high speeds. Engineers call this the skin effect. At the extreme frequencies required for AI, electricity stops flowing through the whole wire and gets pushed to the very outer surface. You're paying for a thick copper cable, but only a tiny sliver of it is actually doing any work. It's inefficient and creates massive heat. Second, copper has a short lifespan in terms of distance. At the 1.6 terabits per second bandwidth speeds we are moving toward, a copper signal breaks down after just 1 meter. But in a modern AI factory, you need to connect tens of thousands of GPUs across dozens of meters, which copper literally can't reach. Finally, copper is a power hog. Traditional setups use long copper and short light, where data travels through copper inside the machine before hitting an optical module at the door. This wastes massive amounts of electricity. This is where co-packaged optics, or CPO, comes in. CPO brings the light engine right next to the chip. Instead of waiting for data to travel through copper, it turns into light the moment it leaves the silicon. This can drop power consumption by an entire order of magnitude, from 25 watts down to just 5 or 8 watts per module. Why did Jensen pick Lumentum? All right, enough of the technical talk. With so many optical companies out there, the real question lies, why did Lumentum get Nvidia's blessing? Over the last decade, Lumentum has transformed itself through 3 strategic acquisitions. By buying Oclaro, Neophotonics, and Cloud LITE, they've become a master at vertical integration. In the semiconductor world, if you control everything from the design to the factory to the final assembly, you are undoubtedly the king. Lumentum owns its own wafer fabs in the UK, Japan, and the US. In 2026, high-quality AI-grade laser chips are like coal in the 18th century or oil in the 20th. There are only a handful of factories on Earth that can make them. This confidence is exactly why Jensen Huang dropped $2 billion on LITE. Lumentum doesn't just provide the laser, they provide the modules and the switching systems altogether. Lumentum holds 4 aces. First is the EML laser chip, the core of 800G and 1.6T modules. Their high-margin 200G products are expected to jump from 10 to 25% of their revenue by the end of 2026. Second is the CW laser, which is the heart of CPO technology. This is what Nvidia's $2 billion deal is protecting. Orders for these are already backed up to 2027. Third is the optical circuit switch, otherwise known as OCS. Traditional switches turn light into electricity and back again, which is exhausting and expensive. Lumentum's R300 OCS uses an array of tiny mirrors, each the size of a drop of nail polish, to bounce light beams directly to their destination, which uses almost zero power to switch data. Google is already a major user, and the order backlog is over $400 million. Finally, their high-speed cloud modules are being sold directly to giants like Amazon and Meta. Their systems revenue grew 60% year over year, proving they've moved from being a parts supplier to a full system provider. LITE's financial turning point. Lumentum's financials are looking like a vertical takeoff. In the second quarter of fiscal 2026, revenue hit $660 million, up over 65% year over year. More importantly, their margins are healing. They went from 25% gross margins to 36% in just 1 year, and their operating margin has finally turned positive. Management's guidance is even more aggressive, predicting revenue will double compared to last year. However, I'll have to remind you, there's nothing definite in the stock market. At roughly $670 per share, Lumentum is trading at about 60 times its 2027 estimated earnings. That's not cheap. It means the market has already priced in a lot of this growth. We'll also have to watch for competition from Chinese giants and the risk of being too dependent on a few massive cloud customers. Conclusion: what's the future of AI? To wrap this up, the AI infrastructure build-out is shifting from raw compute to smart transmission. As AI clusters grow, copper has hit its physical limit, making optical interconnects the only way forward. Lumentum, with its integrated model and high-end laser tech, has established the widest possible moat. We are watching 3 growth curves hit at once: the explosion of 1.6T modules, the commercialization of CPO, and the spread of zero-power optical switching. This week's GTC and OFC conferences will be the moment of truth. Any news on the speed of CPO production could determine if Lumentum charges toward $1,000 or heads back down to earth. What do you think? Is 60 times forward earnings too steep, or is this just the beginning of a massive bull run? Can LITE truly replace copper as the master of the data center? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned. If this helped clear things up, please remember to like this video and share it with a friend who might benefit from learning this. With that, we'll see you in the next one.